Okay, good. We didn't fall. Falling into spikes would be really bad. We'd ideally like to be at full health for the fight coming up, so... We're gonna use the blueberry to get here, and there's gonna be another fight. We often just call this the maze fight, because it happens in the maze room. I'm gonna hit that coin block because I'm gonna need to use it later to get a shooting star. Anyway, so this is the maze fight right here. And the main thing I am hoping for is that he tosses a spiny and spawns it rather than throwing it at me directly. Because if he does that, we can save a lot of time when we have to get the Ultra Boots. And he gave me Spiny Spawn. That's perfect. On top of that, this fight's a lot less scary, because you don't actually need to block anything if he gives you Spiny Spawn. Now, this is sort of a recent development in the route. Before then, what we'd have to do was fight... so what before then was, when we do Ultra Boots, there's a Dark Koopa that you ordinarily have to fight. And the reason we did is because we thought we needed the experience from that fight in order to be in peril in the final bosses of the game. But it turns out if you get a Spiny Spawn in that fight, the experience works out, so you don't have to kill the Dark Koopas later on when we do Clippy Boots. So this part of Chapter 6 is just a bunch of annoying fetch questing. I need to go all the way back to the Room of Death now. And talk to another flower there that will give me something that I give to... that really stuck up flower that has the water stone. Alright, so we got through the Room of Death unharmed. It's always good. This flower also happens to give one of the 3 main items we need to get to the boss, so it happens to work out. We could have talked to her when we entered this room the first time, but we need to talk to her again anyway, so it's faster to just wait until now to do it. Alright, so this has been an okay... for marathon standards, this has actually been a decent segment. I was a bit slow with my menuing during the mole fights, but other than that, I want some sloppy movement here and there as well, but otherwise pretty alright. Okay. So we're basically about halfway through Chapter 6 now, right after I talk to Lily again. Whoops. Thumb slipped off my stick there. Now keep in mind, as I go and talk to Lily, if I fall into the spikes more than once, it can lead me into a really bad situation. So I want to take care not to fall into the spikes at all, if possible. And I forgot to split. But... So yeah, that's the first half of Chapter 6, which is really focused on getting the 3 items that we need to get to the boss. However, it is still cloudy, so the next part of Chapter 6 will be getting Lackluster, the final party member of the game, and getting rid of the clouds. Because our ultimate goal is to grow Beanstalk. That takes us to where the boss is residing. So again, I want to take care not to fall into the spikes if I can avoid it. Alright, we did it. So, we got the Bubble Berry. That's the item that we need to get Lackluster. And ultimately, what doing Lackey early in any percent does is you wouldn't need to get the Bubble Berry to cut across this room. So yeah, anyway, this room, the reason I safety save is there's an enemy, and as I said, spawns are random. It is possible to actually get into encounter right as I get out of the bubble, and if I don't run away, which is, there's a decent chance of that happening because the bar starts off really low, then I'll die, so definitely worth safety saving here in the marathon. And that was really bad luck, he got me, so that's what I'm talking about right there. Thankfully we got away though, so it's only like 10 seconds loss. There's an even rarer situation where he can actually first strike you as you get out of the bubble. And that is extremely bad when that happens, because even if you get away, then you have to use a slower strat for the Lackluster fight coming up. Okay. So anyway, this boss fight now, it's not difficult, but again, it's kind of scary. I have to block all 3 of his attacks, or I die. But thankfully they aren't too difficult to block. So just power jump and shell shot twice, then power jump again. That's gonna be my strategy here. And then a power bounce. Alright, good, we did it. Alright. So we got better than a 5 cap there. So basically that was the best possible fight we could have gotten. Like a lot of the other bosses, we could have gotten 4 capped on him, and that would have made the fight a little bit slower because I would have had a shell shot. Selecting the second choice here, it's a small time save, but he talks less when you do that. And now we got Lackluster. So Lackluster is by far the most broken party member in the entire game. Pretty much every glitch that we are going to use for the rest of the run will require Lackluster in some way. As I said, there aren't really any glitches you use in all cards. So, I guess I'll save here. I usually don't die here. In fact, I don't think I've ever died here, but just in case, because I don't want to have to do all that again. And this run's like, sub 310 is dead, so I really don't care, honestly. So this puzzle is very straightforward. Nothing much to talk about. In any percent, though, you would have to actually leave the flower fields a bit, because you don't do the mansion, and therefore wouldn't have the super boots at this point. Alright. So now we're gonna get Thunder Rage, and as you'll see, pretty much every item I am getting at this point, I am saving up for the final boss. So this is a very simple fight. Star Swarm twice. Out of sight. Again, this fight emphasizes why that Chapter 2 LCS is practically mandatory for the route. Without it, I need to find 2 extra shooting stars. Okay, so I'm gonna use Star Storm one more time and the fight's done. What we used to do is we'd use that Thunder Rage instead of Star Storming twice, but I discovered recently that it is faster overall for the entire run to use Star Storm twice here, because then you skip this Shooting Star in Chapter 4, and you can use a Thunder Rage in Final Bowser instead of a Shooting Star, which is a faster animation. Now I'm going to switch to Lackluster right now. I need to do it anyway, but also, as you just noticed with that cutscene just now, there was a bit of time where Lackluster popped out of my party, and there was some delay before he said anything, so ideally before cutscenes you want to have him out right away. And I don't do it for the fight, because menuing from star power to partner switching takes quite a while. So I just keep Bo. But after the fight, I switch to Lackluster. Okay, so now we are going to use our last Waka. Because I need to be at full HP and FP for the boss fight. Whoops, wrong way. I have to talk to this guy first, something people often forget to do when they're learning this game. You can't actually plant anything until you talk to him there. Anyway, so this is the beanstalk that's going to take us into the sky, and we're going to fight the boss, Huff and Puff. Excuse me. To answer your question, it's basically if you go over any entry hazard, it's kind of to signify that Lackluster is sad to signify you over entry hazard. Whoops, and when you go over an entry hazard, you do move slower, and that's... There's one small time saver we use in Chapter 8 that takes that into account. And I mean very small time saver, but I'll talk about it when we get to it. Alright, so one quick little thing we're going to do here. Instead of waiting for that cloud, I need to go on that cloud over there to get Super Jump Charge, because I'm going to need it for this boss fight and pretty much every other boss fight thereafter. So going to that loading zone and coming back actually gives you a better cycle in this cloud. Yeah, okay, that was right. So Super Jump Charge is really useful, because just using Peril Straps with Power Bounce wouldn't cut it on this boss since he spawns minions, so we want to be able to kill him in one go if we can, and thankfully charges stack in this game, so we can do that. Okay, got the block, that's good. So now we use bow and out of sight in this turn. Now the reason we want to block on the first turn, rather than, like, it might be easier to just when he does this attack, you can control the number of damage he does, and you can just make him do 4 here. But going out of sight of this turn is faster, because the animation of this attack gets shortened by a lot. Also, you want to have bow available to you if your cap is really bad on this boss, so... Alright. We got a 5, so that's a perfect fight right there. At least in all cards. In any percent in the wrong warp, you need like a 7 to get a perfect fight, and 7 is very rare. Okay. So, for the record, my PB is a 303, and we are about 8 minutes behind my PB. Almost all of it, all the time loss being due to Chapter 4. Actually, scratch that. This is 9 minutes behind my PB right now. So anyway, there's not much to talk about with this Peach cutscene coming up. It's one of the longest ones in the game, and all I really have to do is sneak around, transform into the Koopa Trolls, and just make sure I hold B the whole time. Because pressing B, it makes the dialogue go faster, as I've said, but it also will unmorph you, and you do not want to do that. Because if you do and get caught, you'll be sent back to your room, and that will waste an insane amount of time. So, simple advice, just hold B here. Only stop holding B when you want to transform into something else. So that really summarizes this part of the run. What's really important is what I'm about to do next. It's probably the most important trick in the entire run. And it's called Clippy Boots. So what I'm ultimately going to do is I'm going to use a glitch that changes Mario's hitbox and take advantage of that to get through a block that's in my way that I normally need the Ultra Hammer to get past, but I got the Super Hammer in Chapter 2, so that's why we need to do this. Because otherwise it wouldn't be possible to beat the game. Well, actually, it would be possible. You do not actually need the Ultra Boots to beat the game. But... what am I doing, dude? That's a bit of a time waster right there. It's not paying attention, for some weird reason, if I was the Chapter 5 cutscene. So by the way, I still need to make sure I'm holding B, because even at the very end, I actually have done this once before in practice, where I accidentally unmorphed right when I got to the top of the castle. And I was literally like a pixel away from triggering the cutscene that I needed to end this part of the game. And I got caught, and I got sent back to my room. And I had to go all the way back and transform into the Clubba again. But we're good now. So anyway, a few preliminaries going into this trick that I'm going to do. First things first, I am 100% going to safety save, because if you mess up the trick, it is possible to soft lock your game, and that's never nice. And if I didn't save now, I'd have to do that entire Peach cutscene again, and that would waste about 5 extra minutes. Whoops. Alright, so I'm gonna just hit the save block right here. Alright, so now I'm trying to get the Ultra Boots, so this is why I'm going this way. Okay, so the enemies in this room are a little bit scary, but we avoided them. Didn't get it first try. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to open up the partner menu right as I start the fight. This will put me in clippy mode, but it is frame perfect, so it's not an easy trick. Nope. Nope. Too early. Didn't get it either. Come on, get over here. Really? Wow. The annoying thing about this trick is, every time you fail it, you lose 12 seconds. And this is just the first part of the trick. If I fail the next part, then I'll have to do this all over again. So the next part, anyway, I'm gonna have to get past that block that's in front of the doorway I need to go to. Okay. So switch Lackluster. Okay, we got it first try, so that's good. We've gotten a lot more consistent than that. I practiced this a lot, so that's good that I at least got that first try. So now we have the Ultra Boots. Oops. So now the next thing is, we're not going to go directly to Chapter 7 yet. Instead, we are going to take kind of a detour and go back to the volcano. And you might think, well, why on earth are we going there? Is there some item that we need? And the answer is no, it's not an item. There is actually a glitch we're going to use that lets us finish Chapter 7 much quicker. And this glitch is called Peach Warp. So I mentioned earlier that the Peach cutscene for Chapter 5 works differently from the others. What actually triggers it is the escape sequence, not touching the card. So we can trigger it again and again if we are able to reach that point in the game. And in order to reach that point, we need Lackluster. We're going to do a bunch of tricks, well, a bunch of glitches called Lackey Clips, really. And I'll explain them as we get there, but for now we're just going to try. Our goal is to go back to the room where we fought Lava Piranha. And I am going to safety save again, because once again, if you mess up this trick, you can soft lock your game. But basically, the idea of this Peach cutscene is, unlike the others, when you trigger it, instead of triggering the cutscene that would normally play, so the Chapter 5 cutscene, it'll trigger whatever cutscene it is the game thinks you're in. So the game currently thinks I'm in Chapter 7 right now, because I just beat Chapter 6. So what'll happen is I'll end up playing the Chapter 7 cutscene, and that'll basically warp me to the end of Chapter 7. It's a type of long warp, essentially. Right, so now our goal is to get below the lava, and we need to do one Lackey Clip right here. And it's pretty precise. It might take me a few tries. And we got it first try. Excellent. So then this is another thing we gotta do. Nope, not first try. Nope. This trick is nearly frame perfect, so it might take me a little while to do it. Nope. There we go. So that is called lackey teleporting. And what that does is I can hop on Lackluster, then get off him, and quickly move towards a wall. And if I hop on Lackluster when he's moving at just the right speed, I will end up getting pushed through a really thin wall like that one just now. And the whole reason I had to do that was if I just tried to enter the loading zone normally, there's an invisible cage blocking my way, and if I just went into it, I'd get stuck in there. And that's the reason that this trick could softlock your game. So, honestly, with the setup I use, the chance of that happening is extremely low. There was another setup that we used to use that was a bit slower, where we'd have to do the lackey teleport from much further away, and you did it from right by the cage. But thankfully, people were able to discover that you could do the lackey teleport from much closer to the semicircles that it clipped through. Honestly, if it weren't for my Clippy being like 3rd or 4th try, it would have actually been a pretty good Clippy boots, because the second half was perfect. I didn't really fully explain Clippy boots though, so I guess I'll do it real quick. The idea is I got Mario into Clippy mode, and that lets me partially clip through walls. So then I want to keep Lackluster on the ground by constantly moving up that archway. And if I get on top of the doorframe while being clipped into the wall, Lackluster will teleport me down right below the doorframe. And I'll trigger the loading zone, so even though that block is in my way, as I said earlier, if you trigger a loading zone, you can go through solid objects. So now we're starting Chapter 7. So as I said, that trick took me to the end of Chapter 7. And normally in any percent, you just go straight to Chapter 8 after doing a Peach Whip like that. But in this category, all cars, we have to fight the boss and get the card. And thankfully, going into the palace itself is a trigger, so the palace is just as it is without you beating it. So that trick I just did is called Mirror Clip. It works very similar to how I did that second half of Peach Warp. I got on Lackluster from really far away and did a lackey push. And then while he was moving really fast, I pressed C down and that clipped me right through the mirror. It saves about 30 seconds because it skips a duplicate ghost fight that you normally have to do otherwise. But a side effect is that your reflection in the mirror never goes away. It's a 3-frame trick, basically. The one I did for Peach Warp is a bit more stringent on the timing. It's probably 1 or 2 frames. Alright. So now we're going to do one quick minigame here. So this is a very easy minigame. 4 out of 5 of these Bombets are duplicates, and I'm going to whack the fake ones. The real one is always in the same spot, so it's very easy to remember. He's always the one that's closest to the bottom wall. Or she. The real one is the one closest to the bottom wall. Okay, so we did that. It's all nice and good. Okay. It's probably not necessary to safety save here, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because there is a fight coming up. Well, to be precise, it's really because there are certain enemies that you want to avoid, and if I get into an encounter by accident and don't run away, I might be in trouble. So I want to avoid that scenario, if possible. Well, the scenario of losing a lot of time, that is. Very straightforward fight. I just jump, then bomb. Magic Koopa always runs away, so you don't get his experience, which works out quite nicely for us. So this fight, I just use Stars from Power Punk because now there's 2 Clubbas. Also, hello, Pokehero. Alright, so this next fight now is probably the major piece of RNG in this segment, besides the final boss himself. So, as a side effect of doing Peach Warp, as I mentioned earlier, I have 7 star power, so yeah, I use up and away in this fight. But like with Fright Jar earlier, it has a chance of failing, and if it does, you'll lose a lot of time. Because then I have to airlift whatever survives. And it didn't fail, so we're good. If it was the Magic Koopa that happened to survive that, though, you wouldn't get airlift because he'd just run away. Anyway, that's done with. So now at this point, just need to get a few items and we're pretty much done with the palace. There's also one more trick we have to do, too. So blow up this invisible wall. It's because this chest here contains Triple Dip, essential badge for the final boss. And that badge is going to allow me to use multiple items in one turn. So all those damage-dealing items I'm picking up, I could save for the final boss. Now, a surprising thing about most of the enemies here is I could just spin behind them and get past them pretty reasonably most of the time. Alright, so Cooper skip. Okay, that hopefully is good. This trick is kind of precise, and honestly, I've recently had some trouble getting the positioning right. What I want to do is I can skip this minigame by positioning myself within a 2-pixel spot, and then do this. And we got it, first try. Excellent. So, you could just do that minigame, it wouldn't waste that much time, but it's probably like 15 seconds. So if you fail that trick more than once, you would be wasting time, actually, compared to just doing the minigame the normal way. But as I said, it's kind of precise. It's like 2 pixels, and the reason I was hammering that wall earlier was to figure out my positioning for the trick. Getting this Jam and Jelly, I need it at the end of the game. Just like that first Clubba, I can just get behind him and spin past him. No need to lure him out. P up, D down. Another thing I need for the final boss. I did have to go this way anyway though, because I had to push that albino dino statue to get the key that I need to go to the final room. Alright, this Dupligos Dino is the hardest enemy to avoid. Got past him, so now I just gotta get past him one more time. Alright, so we got past him, it's excellent. This has actually been a pretty clean segment. We got both of the tricks first. We got both of the tricks first try, and we got no encounters either. The only issue was my movement was sloppy in some parts, and also I safety saved twice, so It's probably not going to... If I do have my splits open, so I can tell, it's not going to be a best segment, but... Still, really, I can't ask for much more than that in a marathon. And honestly, after reflecting back, I'm going through this room, I remember now there is a glitch you can show off, which Giga does sometimes when he does no reset runs, which will let you jump really high. And I don't remember how to do it, so I'm not going to bother with it, but I could have made it a donation incentive. It's my bad for forgetting to consider something like that. But if I ever run this game in a marathon again, that would be an obvious donation incentive. Whoops. Something to heal. Save. It's just like with Huff and Puff, I can get a 3 cap on this boss. And that would be very bad if I did. Otherwise, all I have to do is just block 2 out of 4 attacks, and I'm pretty good. And we got blocked both of them, so that's perfect. Now I don't need to block anymore. Getting the timing for that second block is kind of tricky. And usually I don't get it, but we got it here, so that's good. So at this point I'm just hoping that I don't get 3 cap here. And even though I'm in peril, I need to charge up one more time. It's a common mistake is forgetting to charge up and just bouncing on him. And we got 4 capped, so now we gotta use Watt here. So you lose about 6 seconds if you get a 4 cap, but not the end of the world. Alright, so at this point, the only thing I'm really concerned about is the final boss fight. If you die at the final boss, which it's kind of easy to mess up if you're nervous or aren't paying attention, then I lose 6 minutes. Yeah, I wasn't 3 cap, that's always good. I mean, Crystal King, though, it is possible to win the fight if you get 3 capped. But if it happens on Huff and Puff, which it did happen to me recently, it happened to me on a run recently where I was over a minute ahead of my PB, and then I got first struck by the bee out of the bubble, lost a lot of time to that, and then Huff gave me a 3 cap, so it's pretty ridiculously bad luck. My general goal for this game is I want to get about at least a 301, if not a 300. The world record right now is a 259. But honestly, if I wanted to try grinding for a 259, I feel that it would take forever. Just wouldn't want to deal with that. But yeah, anyway, so as for this run, we're pretty much almost done. There's only 30 minutes left. Sub 310 is actually impossible, even if I played perfectly from this point on. But, on the other hand, I could get like a low... If I played really well, I could get like a low 311. Which is still decent. Considering what happened this run, which was dying twice in the general guy fight, and failing LGS for 4 minutes in Chapter 4. Right, so last few items I need to pick up along the way for the final boss. Avoiding the enemies on the way back from the palace is really straightforward. Almost got trolled there by the frost piranha. And that just happened. Right when I say enemies are easy to avoid. I was hugging the top wall there, but he still got me. That was just bad luck. I've never actually gotten an encounter with that guy before. So that repel gel, the final boss as well. Thankfully those two guys, it doesn't matter where they spawn, you can always avoid them, moving the way I just did. Get in there. So the reason we got so far behind the schedule is I was probably too conservative in my estimate. Because honestly, if I played decently, even getting like a more reasonable time would have been like a 3:20 maybe. But I mean, even then, the two no set runs I did for practice before this, I got a 309 and a 308. But there's one boss fight at the end of the run where you can make a really simple mistake and die to a bunch of times. So if that were to happen, I would lose so much time. So the rating estimate is meant to take that worst case scenario into account. Because Paper Mario is just a game where so much can go wrong. And if things go wrong, you can lose so much time. Like what happened in the General Guy fight, as well as loading zone storage in Chapter 4, taking me 4 minutes to do. This is a very narrow pass, so I have to lure him out like that. Just like with the Rough Puff in Chapter 6 to get past him. Just a minor little thing. So really, by and large, the two things that make this segment tough... Well, there's one annoying trick you have to do called Cannonless, which can be kind of finicky sometimes. And then there's also the encounters. There are lots of encounters that you have to dodge in Chapter 8, including all the ones I just did on the way here. Although these encounters so far are generally really easy. I just got really unlucky with where that gold had spawned. And he still got me somehow. I've seen it happen to other people, but it's never happened to me before until now. Nevertheless, this is honestly one of my favorite segments in the game. I like the music, I like the environment, I like what the two tricks you do are really, really cool, so... But it's also among the hardest segments in the game to optimize. So keep that in mind as well. Because there is a lot of RNG at the very end of the segment. That's out of my control. It doesn't, I really don't care, I honestly don't care what RNG I get, because sub 310 is impossible, so the time I get is the time I get. My only real concern is not dying in Final Bowser, and that's it. Alright. Notice me, please. Thank you. So I have to fight this guy to get a key. One time Power Quake, and then Power Bomb. And the nice thing is, I will level up. I have just the right number of star points to level up here, which works out perfectly. Whoops. Did that just happen? Wow. I messed up the strat to dodge him. I have not done that in a very long time. But this room, when I was a newer runner, just in general, was one of the most annoying ones for me. It's a very narrow room, and you have to dodge those two group patrols. So this segment's off to a bad start. I got 2 encounters. One of them was out of my control, but that one I messed up. Alright, so now I'm going to get a life shroom. I hit a heart block too, because I took damage in that fight. Alright, so now we're taking a detour. We're not going to go directly to the basement. We are instead going to use Lackluster and ride the lava. Right. So I mentioned earlier also that when Lackluster's riding the lava, he moves slower. So one small optimization I did in that screen was there's a bit of ground you can touch behind that railing, and now it's faster than just going straight into the lava by about a second. Alright, so hopefully I show how to avoid those encounters properly this time, because I'm about to go through that room again. So, anyway, the whole reason I'm going around here, the lava... Normally, the developers intended you to do this only to get a single badge here, and it's honestly a pretty underwhelming badge. But this is the only trick in the game where it's really the only reason that we need all tributes is this trick, and I got it first try. So... I use a tornado jump and I can clip right through the block and get on top. And that takes me directly back to the upper level and skips the entire basement part to Bowser's Castle. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. When you do it properly, that room. Alright, so I'm going to safety save here because I'm doing a trick coming up where if I mess it up, I'll soft lock my game. So by the way, that life shroom I picked up earlier, most runners don't go for it anymore, because you'll only need it if you're really unlucky on Final Bowser, but I want to beat him my first try, so I don't want to lose it because I get unlucky. Alright, so anyway, the trick coming up is going to skip most of this flood room. You normally have to progressively raise and lower the water, and eventually get a key that unlocks the door on the other side of this room. So first of all, Wacky Clip. That gets me on top of the water, so you can walk on water in this game. Wacky Clip again, and my positioning is slightly off. There we go. And then one more Wacky Clip. And I can go under the floor because when you do a Wacky Clip there, it actually, truthfully speaking, you're actually slightly below the floor. It doesn't look like it, but you are. So I switched to Cooper. And we got the key. So that's called a Cooper Super Jump. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. Alright, so that was an okay flood room. Other than switching to Sushi by accident, and that one missed Wacky Clip was pretty solid. So now we're going to do another Wacky Clip. for a trick called Canvas. And this clip is pixel perfect, so... And we didn't get it first try. Let's try it again. Nope, same problem. Nope. Let's try it again. It is pixel perfect, but it doesn't usually take me this long to get it. Let's try that. Hopefully this works. No? Okay. Come on. Please get in there. What is wrong with me? I usually get this first try. I was not expecting to have trouble with this. Even though I did say it's pixel perfect, it's not that difficult. Nope. Come on. Thank you. Alright, there we go. So what I ended up doing was I needed to maneuver myself out of bounds and wedge myself right in between that roll. And then I would be able to go forward but get past the cannons. This encounter right here is RNG as well. The dry bones hits me. Can't do anything about it. But he didn't hit me. So I probably lost about 30 seconds to that canvas. It was very slow. Alright. So unlike this dry bones, I'm actually going to go out of my way to lure this guy out. And I messed it up somehow. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. That's better. We go through the trouble of luring that guy out in dry bones because, unlike the dry bones, he has a much higher chance of hitting you after you finish pushing that block. And on top of that, your run meter starts really low, so there's a good chance that you'll just die after failing to run away. Whoops, I missed it there. So I'd say right now I'm probably on pace to get like a 314. I was originally on pace to get like a 312, but this segment has been extremely bad, mostly because of cannonless. But I also had 2 encounters as well. So it's overall gonna, with perfect RNG, it'll probably be about a minute slow compared to my best. Maybe worse. I'm generally quite consistent in this segment, but just have a harder time doing marathons, I guess. Alright, so this quiz is always the same as well. It's just 1121. If you do fuck up by accident, then just remember that question 6 is number 3. Which is a surprising break in the pattern, but... anyway, the point is, most of the difficult part of the segment is over with. I did cannonless, so... At this point, it's just about avoiding a few encounters, and then late game RNG, where if it's really bad, I can lose another minute or 2. Alright, so that's done with. Alright, I'm gonna safety save one more time. Because the boss can actually... Junior Troopa, you can get a 3-cap on that guy. Never happened to me during a run, but gotta be prepared for the worst. Be really bad if it did, but... Okay. So to avoid that guy, I'm just praying that he stays close to the top as he possibly can. But on rare instances he won't, and it's a lot harder to dodge that guy. It's probably the hardest enemy to dodge in this whole segment. Okay, one more time. Alright, so he kind of hugged the bottom there, so I kind of had to go out of my way there to dodge him. Alright, so this room is the repeating hallway. Pattern's always the same. It's up, down, down, up, down, up. Whoops. My movement's been really sloppy. Actually, I'm supposed to go down, yeah. I almost went the wrong way because I wasn't paying attention. Okay, the enemies in that room are easy to dodge, and that officially takes care of all encounters in Chapter 8 now. It's just boss RNG. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. 1, 2, 3... So after the 6th pillar I turn around and we find out he's a duplighost. Whoops. Alright, so just like in the palace earlier, I have to use up and away in this fight, and if it fails I'll lose close to 30 seconds, so let's hope I don't fail it. And it didn't fail. Good. And we have full FP and HP, so we just go right into the next room and fight the boss. And now I'm gonna have to be kind of careful, because that item could cause a menuing error in the final boss if I'm not careful. I don't think I've ever gotten the stopwatch drop in that duplighost before. It's very rare. So this fight, I have to block both attacks, charge up for 3 turns, and pray I get at least a 4. Ideally, I get a 5 here. This is one of the few fights in the game where getting a 4 will waste a lot of time. Now I'm going to switch to bow. Whoops. I could do this on turn 3 instead of turn 2, but then I wouldn't have out of sight available if I get a 4 cap. And then I die. Okay, so now he's powered on someone. And we got a 5, so that's a perfect fight. Null cards. So, yeah. I didn't see my splits, but at this point the best segment I could hope for is, or best time I could hope for is a 3:14. So I'm gonna use the German Jelly, heal my FP. Now I'm gonna change some badges around. So I want Power Jump, remove Jump Charge, remove Power Quake, put P up, P down. Get a safety save here. And we're pretty much good to go for the second to last boss. Okay, so here's the goal of this second to last boss. We refer to it as the Holly Bowser fight. I want to get at least a double 4 cap or a 3 and a 5. Ideally, I'd want double 5 cap. Alright, so 5 is really good. Now I'm guaranteed to beat him in at least 3 turns. Because the lowest possible cap on this fight is 3. And we got double 5. That is a perfect Holly Bowser fight right there. So you'll notice now I'm still in para even after both the Junior Trooper and Bowser boss fights. That is the whole reason that managing your experience is really important. And I need to change my badges real quick. Yeah, triple it. Here we go. So at this point, the only thing I'm scared of is messing up this boss fight coming up, because if I do, I'll lose 6 minutes. And there's a lot to say about this boss fight, honestly. It's probably the single largest piece of RNG in the entire run in every single category, even all cards and glitchless. But in glitch, or in any percent though, it's you basically need to be lucky just to beat him. Here though, if I get lucky, I will save about 30 to 40 seconds. So anyway, here's the deal. Just like with Hallway Bowser, my caps can range anywhere from 3 to 7. I've heard 8 caps are possible, but I've never gotten one on this guy. And the perfect fight would be 2 5s and a 4. And also him not using the Star Shield, the move that makes him invincible, the Star Rod, on turn 3. As long as he doesn't do that and you get 2 5s and a 4, you'll beat him as fast as you possibly can. But extremely rare for that to happen. I've only gotten it once. We got a 4 cap. It's pretty good. So I need 2 5 caps now to get a quick kill on him, which is very unlikely. And we got a 3, so quick kill is not impossible. But the important thing is I didn't get double 3 cap here. So the worst thing that could happen is you get triple 3 cap. Because you have 3 turns where you can power bounce on him, and if you get triple 3 cap, then you will actually die, no matter what you do. Which is why I need a life shroom to prepare for that worst case scenario happening. It's pretty rare, but it has happened to me a few times. Certainly more common than the quick kill, without a doubt. I would honestly say 3 and 4. 3 is probably more common than 4. The 3 cap is the most common cap to get on him, but slightly more common than 4. And then 5 is really uncommon. Alright, so this fight I'm just going to mash A. So I'll talk a little bit more about the final boss. So I'm going to use Water Block, and I equipped Fire Shield earlier as well. So Bowser's attacks are Fire, which does 10 damage normally, and Butt Stomp and Claw, which do 8. So by putting Water Block and Fire Shield on, Water Block raises Mario's defense, but it also reduces fire damage by 1 in addition to that defense up. So with that and Fire Shield on, Fire and his other 2 attacks do the same amount of damage, so it cuts out a lot of RNG. That's the whole reason I went to the trouble of upgrading Sushi. But yeah, so I talked about the worst case, which is getting a triple 3 cap. So I'm not going to be able to get a quick kill now based on my caps, but there's another really major time save that I can still get, and that depends on what turn Bowser uses Star Shield. That's turns 3, 4, or 5. If he uses it turns 3, which is rare, and 4, which is by far the most common, you will waste a lot of time because you have to use Peach Beam. that attack, or that animation is really slow, and you have to use, and it'll take you another turn to kill him. Whereas if I get what's called Beamless, where he waits until turn 5 to use Star Shield, I have the potential to just kill him on turn 4. And hence not use Peach Beam at all. And it saves about 30 seconds. So commonly this is usually a thing you see people chanting in chats that get to the final light is praying for Beamless. It's pretty rare. I've only gotten it maybe twice. I've only gotten a PB with it twice maybe, out of the many PBs I've gotten. Although it's not nearly as rare as getting the quick kill. The quick kill is probably less than 1%. So yeah, anyway, for this fight, I also need to block 2 attacks. If I miss a single block, I'm going to die and use a life shroom. And that's very bad because if Bowser takes enough damage and your HP is above 5, there's a very high chance he'll just heal, regardless of what he would have done otherwise. And if he heals, you're basically fucked. There's nothing you can do. And also, I wouldn't be able to get into peril, so that's bad too. But it is possible to beat him if he doesn't heal, but it's very rare he doesn't. Nice, it's Sushi's water block. Anyway. Okay, block the fire, it's a good start. Now I need to be careful here, I'm going to use triple dip. Do not want to use the stopwatch or the life shroom by accident, both would be very bad. So I'm taking this menu pretty slow. Because I don't want to menu too fast and drop an input and then not notice it. I need to block one more, and we're good. Right, we did it, boys. Okay, now I need to make sure I eat this repel gel. Right. We are good, so basically we're pretty much guaranteed to win the fight at this point. Now it's just a matter of luck, what time I get. So no turn 3 beam, it's always good. Now I have one more turn of power bounce on him. And we got 4 capped. So do we get beamless? That's the real question. And we don't get beamless. Pretty typical. So this was a pretty average fight overall. I could actually potentially just use Watt here, but I'm not going to. Because I'm pretty sure I've not done enough extra damage to kill him this turn. So I'm going to switch to Bodhi's out of sight. That'll waste a bit of time, but if I were to not use Watt and then get killed here... Yeah, see, you could use Wave, and then if I missed that block, I would have been screwed. So... Right, so now he's dead. And that's it. So my final time is going to be a 3:14. So this is about 4 minutes slower than what I would have liked it to be, but it was pretty much all because of Chapter 4. I lost close to a minute in Chapter 1 because I got hit by the bullet bills by accident. Then in Chapter 5, I failed early cycle and lava skip a bunch of times, so that cost me another 30. And then in Chapter 4 was smooth, but then for some weird reason, I failed the jump on the Shy Squad, which I've never done before, and I did it twice, so I had to reset twice. And then LZS in Chapter 4 took me 4 minutes. Then Clippy Boots was really bad. It took me 3 or 4 tries to get it. So that's another 50 seconds, 40 to 50 seconds. And then Chapter 7 was honestly pretty decent. Only minor sloppy mistakes there. And Chapter 8, I had 2 encounters and a really bad cannonless. Above average RNG, though, I'd say. If I had gotten beamless, it would have been insane, but... Anything cool to show off? That's tough. I'm trying to think. I'm not as familiar. Some other runners know lots of useless glitches to show off, but I'm not one of them, unfortunately. That would be the main thing. So yeah, anyway, the reason I I made my estimate conservative, I said it a bunch of times, but just to be clear, it is because on that final fight right there, if I had missed a single block, I would have probably had to reset, and I would have had to do that whole twink fight again, and it would have taken 6 or 7 minutes. Yes, the world record is 2:59.28. My PB is a 3:03, and this run's going to be a 3:14. Save Lux! Oh, that's right, I could show that off, I guess. I forgot about that. I haven't done it in a while, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get it, but, yeah. I've done it before, Giga. I'm pretty sure what I have to do is I just ground pound while hitting the save block, and then, well, you'll see, but I at least remember how to do that part. It might take a couple tries because, quite honestly, if you mess it up, you have to just reset. There's one more glitch I'm going to do, though. It's not a big deal, but it's a common... if I ever needed a donation incentive and couldn't think of one, it'd be this. So when I go to Peach's party at the very end of the game, I can prevent Luigi from coming by holding down as I enter the pipe. And it saves a little bit of time, but if I didn't do it, it would be a thing. Yeah, right, Giga, that's what I thought. So for those who don't know, Giga is the world record holder in this game. He came to watch my run and give me some support. Do appreciate it. The main thing I'd end up showing off with this, honestly, is... So, the whole point... I'm lost for words here. So the only thing I've used save block storage for personally is for lag reduction. So I've mentioned before that the VC version is incredibly laggy, but if you do this trick, you will remove quite a bit of the lag temporarily. Alright, so anyone in chat, if you don't want me to invite Luigi, speak up now or forever hold your peace. Yeah, I probably said it too late. I'm just gonna show it off, so... So anyway, that's basically Paper Mario cards right there. If I had played it at least as well as I did in my no reset runs, I should have easily gotten sub 310. So time ends right now. Actually, I did it like a second earlier, or early, but it doesn't matter. It's right when Peach raises her hands. Okay, good. I timed it a second early and I had 3:14:55, so it's good.